edition of the Hockey Republic. My name is George Njuguna, and welcome to episode number 23. Inaonekana
We are at 23 already.
Yes, we are 23 already. Inaonekana mara tutapiga ka extended one.
Kwa nini? We are supposed to end at 24.
We are supposed to end at 24, but the second leg has just started last weekend. But anyway, first of all, how are you, my brother?
I'm good. Poleni sana tumechelewa. I was held up by traffic, but good thing I'm home.
Good stuff. Anyway, we will be discussing some hockey roundup, and we'll be letting you know who won the hockey secondary schools hockey, and then we'll also be letting you know what the second leg of KHU League has just started. We had some games over the weekend, and we'll be letting you know in details what happened in those games. Remember, you can engage us on our socials, that is on our YouTube or Facebook pages, even as we go on with the show. And let's start with the results of the different leagues. Simon, I don't know if you want to project, or I can just read them out even as we go on.
Just read them out.
Okay, good. So in the men's Premier League, we had 3 matches. On Saturday, we had Kenya Police taking on Wazalendo. That game ended in a 1-1 draw. And then on Sunday, we had Park Road taking on USIU. USIU beat Park Road 4-0. And the last game on Sunday was between Green Sharks and Butali. Butali beat Green Sharks 3-0. Let's begin with Sunday. You and I watched the 2 games.
Yeah.
And that is USIU against Park Road. Let's start with that one. I know that's your team, but let's start with it.
Disappointed. In my opinion, I think we try to match their pace. We try to match their speed, and we were unable to. I think what plan we had did not work quite well. So unfortunately, we got a huge thrashing there, because a 4-0 result is not a small result, especially considering that we are still looking towards getting out of that relegation zone. So it's a bit disappointing, but I think we have another game coming up very soon. We don't have any time to moan about it, so we just need to keep working hard and make sure that we have a result in the next game.
What do you think went wrong in that
game? I think as I said, we try to match their pace. We try to run as fast as they did. We try to play the ball as fast as they did, and we know that USIU currently are one of the fittest teams in the Premier League. Park Road has always been known to be a fit team, yes, but at the moment we are not as up to that level. The other thing is, I believe that we should have controlled that game much better. USIU had a lot of numbers in midfield, and we were unable to handle that, especially in the central midfield. That most of the time they were having 2 players who are free in midfield, and most of our midfielders were playing deep. The other thing is, we did not look to pass the ball in the right positions up front. Most of the times the ball were going out to the sides, and most of the time the player was getting cornered and losing possession out there. And also our forwards did not quite get the service that they deserved, and the few chances we got, we did not utilize them.
Let's talk about my comments is on the midfield and also the forward. Number one, I noticed I'm looking for his name. He usually plays defense, but this time around he was playing as a forward.
Jerry,
yes. I noticed Jerry was pushed up front. I don't know why. Maybe you may have a reason. But I felt he wasn't really utilized. And then number 2 is Davies' son.
Mato.
Martin, yes, Mato.
Yeah.
Uh,
Mm.
he looked like he was playing more on the as a midfielder, but on the flank. I,
Mhm.
I usually believe that he's very influential when he's playing as a central midfielder because he's able to, get those balls well and distribute them. I think those are the two things, in my opinion, that costed you. And then you you seemed to have given up once the first goal went in, and everyone was just, let's just get this game done.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think, as you said there, Martin was not quite effective in that game. I think he would have been more effective if he was played in that hole, in that midfield attacking area. Because Martin is good at collecting the ball, coming deep, collecting the ball, turning and running towards the D. And I think if we utilized him in that position, Martin will have gotten a lot of fouls and chances. Because whenever you're playing against a team that is fast, a team that is looking to change their or to transition for a quick transition from defense to midfield, they usually tend to make mistakes whenever they are under attack. So if Martin got those balls in those midfield areas, that is between the half line and 23 of the opponent, he would have made those runs. And most of the times you've seen the USIU defenders are erratic. They will have caused fouls, and Martin likes those quick fouls. So eventually we'll have gotten short corners and created chances. The other thing I feel we did is Godi was trying to push the ball, or the defenders were trying to hit the ball towards the circle for a fast attack, but most of the time they were wayward passes, or they were too hard for the striker to stop. Remember, Jerry is not as mobile as he used to be, so you can't expect him to run and collect those hits or balls towards the D.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's true. You also missed the services of one Duncan, who I believe is
Yeah,
working.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
very essential, but
Um,
we hope to see him
but
back.
still, we have a lot of young midfielders in that team. We have the likes of Ngarangara, who I think he's still in that potential stage. He hasn't yet matured as a player in terms of making the right decisions, knowing when to hold the ball, knowing when to release the ball. At times, you saw him trying um, to play a bit of malice. At times, he was not playing the ball; he was playing the player. Holding on to the ball too much, which of course, if you do such in a game where you are playing against a team that is fast, all those passing channels, passing lines will be closed down. So I think
Yeah.
he needs to look into his game. He needs to work on um, uh, how he handles the ball, when to release it, when to pass it, when to, in terms of how to control his emotions as well. I remember at one point he got, I think, brushed or something, or injured, and then he decided to also do the same to the opponent player, which of course
Okay.
it's the wrong thing to do.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, that's true. Let's move on to the other game, and that was Butali versus Sharks, 3-0. I feel it was a game of two halves. Number one, Butali took advantage of the first half, uh,
Mhm.
got the points and the goals they deserved. And then
Yeah.
come second half, Green Sharks had the whole game themselves, but they just let it. I don't know.
Green Sharks, I think, really need to have a look at their play, because I can say all of their players were getting an extra touch. Before they pass the ball, they have an extra touch or two. They also needed an extra touch to control the ball. So you find that at most a player on average had 5 to 6 touches. To stop the ball, they needed an extra touch or two to control the ball. To pass the ball, they also needed 2 or 3 extra touches to pass the ball. And most of the time it was unnecessary. Whenever you're playing against Butali, and this is something that I've also mentioned to Butali's coach, is that they are always open for an attack, because they always play a high line. Makori pushes up, The other fullback, I can't remember his name, they push up, and they always have only 2 defenders in their own half defending. They force you to go deeper and deeper. So if you can be able to play short, quick passes and then combine that with a long pass towards their flanks, they're always open for attack. And I always feel, and I've always said, that Butali will be vulnerable against quick counter-attacking teams, because once you have a high line, you always leave spaces in behind. So Green Sharks had those chances. You find that, for example, Sicho was getting the ball, instead of looking up, he was dribbling and then making a short pass. And then now, once he passes, he does not open for the return pass. And that's another mistake that Green Sharks did. So they were closed in and they did not know how to get out of that situation. Butali are really good at making sure that they close the gaps. They narrow you in, they compress the pitch so that they make it tight and force you to make that mistake. They have a very good highline and very good pressing. But if you have composed players, if you have players that that can handle the ball, play those short, quick passes, and then a long pass out, Butali are open for the counter. And you saw it. You saw 4 or 5 times Green Sharks had the chance for the counter, and they did not make it count.
Yeah, that's true. And they also didn't, like in the first half, it took them time. I think that first goal, which was scored in the second minute, courtesy of one, what's his name? Festus Onyango, it seemed to have really got them off their cuff, because they ended up, just struggling. And then also the second goal by Vincent also now like just put them down a bit, which second half they managed to come back up, and then they managed to pick up the game, and but then they lost their chances.
Yeah, true. But what I think is Green Sharks need to have that in-game management as well. Most of the time you found that they were taking too long to settle, especially after the breaks, after a quarter break, after the halftime break. They were taking too long to settle into the game, and by the time they settle into the game, the break is almost there. So it's a matter of them now just having that in-game management. And also, at times you can't go down early, but it's a matter of how you maintain your momentum, how you manage that chaos, because in every game there is chaos. The coach can't handle or can't manage every chaos. It's the players themselves to handle that chaos. So they did that. And I also feel that Butali are getting complacent, especially after they scored a second goal. They were getting complacent. You could see the likes of Karis, they were just dribbling, they were casual in their play. You could see Kanu, he was not quite in his mood. So and that's dangerous, especially when the title race is tight. And keeping in mind that Kenya Police and Wazalendo dropped points as well, you can't afford to be complacent, because if you lose 2, 3, 4 points, the other teams will catch up. So I think they need to always have that gear on. Even if you go one gear down, you don't become complacent in such a way that you're dribbling the ball, you lose it. Remember, Green Sharks had how many? 4 or 5 chances where Butali had the ball 100%, a player dribbles and then they lose the ball. All of a sudden it's an attack. So when the players get complacent and now they start learning that, Butali are open for the counter, they'll wait for that chance. And next they are going to face teams that have that, like USIU. You saw how USIU are playing. So USIU, if you lose the ball, they attack you fast. So they can't afford to have that play. Sometimes you found that at times you found Karis, the other player, what's his name? Also Festus, also Kanu, they were holding the ball for an extra second or 2, and that resulted in the Green Sharks players getting back into position. In fact, Butali would have been 7 or 8 nil up by the 4th quarter. But the problem is, whenever those 3 were attacking, they were making the wrong choices in terms of the last pass, in terms of when to release the ball. I remember there is one chance that they lost. I think Kanu hit it, and it was not deflected, but it was to be a very simple team goal, because I think Karis will have passed to Festus to Kanu, and then either Kanu on the near post or Festus on the far post, and it will have been a goal. But it's a matter of them now. Number one, not being complacent. It's the Premier League. You are the champions. You need to show that it's serious business. Whenever you are, what I usually say, if you're 1-0 up, if you're 7-0 up, you should never be complacent. And it's also upon the coach to make sure that the players are not complacent. The minute you see complacency in a player in a game, just either warn him or call him to the bench and give the other player a chance to play.
Yeah, that's true. And talking of complacency, the boys in blue dropped points on Saturday.
I don't think it's complacency. I think it's more or less they got a really good game from Wazalendo. I didn't watch the whole game, but from the first half, I saw that Wazalendo really wanted that win, and it was good to see that from Wazalendo. And having Barry back, it was a good thing for Wazalendo. It's now upon them now to take that result and say, hey, come on, guys, we can do this. Unfortunately, Barry will be yet again going to Germany for the second leg or for another season. I'm not sure, but Wazalendo need to look at that performance and say we can do it. At the same time, they also need to prepare for times when, for example, Barry is not available, who will play in his position, because we saw Wazalendo are playing different whenever Barry is in the team. He gives that fluidity, he allows other players to play, he has that speed, he has that agility, and he's also the captain. So what do you do when he's not in? But back to the game, I also think Kenya Police are struggling. It's not the same Kenya Police we've seen over the years. One thing's for sure, and you have to be honest, they have to replenish their squad. Most of their players are aging players, and they can't continue depending on them at the highest level for the next 2-3 seasons. And we've seen that their performance keeps dropping. If you compare, this is virtually the same team that won the league the other day. Was it 2-3 seasons ago? So they need to start looking for younger blood to start now coming into the team. Like most of their defenders are getting past it. Yes, they can perform at the top level, but they still now need to start looking at refreshing their squad. If you look at Butali, if you look at Wazalendo, they've done it. They've started that transition, and Butali have done it so well. For example, now Max has been replaced by Makori, and Makori can play in that team for the next 10 years. So like Sami in Police, who can replace Sami in that squad? Who can replace Cheplaiti in that squad? So they need to start thinking about that transition now.
Yeah. And looking at the table standings, Butali are, of course, leading with 26 points from 10 matches, followed by Kenya Police, who dropped 3 points. They now have they dropped 2 points rather. They have 23 points now from 10 matches. Number 3 and 4 is a really tight one, because Wazalendo are now at 15, and USIU have catched up with them with 14 points each. All of them have 10 points. And then in the bottom league, of course, is Park Road with 6 points from 10 matches, and Mombasa Sports Club, who have only a point from 9 matches played. Let's switch gears and look at the Premier League women's.
Before you do that, Njugush, there's a team that there are 2 teams that are going under the radar, and I think they deserve a mention. You see, Strathmore and Western Jaguars have played 8 games each, and they're both on 13 points. So if they do take advantage of their 2 matches at hand, you see that they will jump to 19 each. Yes. And if you see if they get to 19 points each, then that means that Strathmore and Jaguars will take up the top 4 positions. That is number 3 and number 4. So and remember that the next match is Police versus Jaguars, and it's away.
Yes.
Sorry, it's Strathmore versus Jaguars, and it is Strathmore going to Jaguars. So it's it's an interesting match to see. I wish I would be there to watch that game.
Yeah.
And
That
also
is
Sailors as well. Sailors are on 9 games and 12 points. If they win their match at hand, they'll be on 15, and they will leapfrog USIU. So USIU, I can say that yeah, it's good that they're in the 4th position, but they have 3 other teams behind them who they just need to win one game, and then USIU drop. They can drop to as low as the 8th position. Sorry, 7th position.
Sailors is playing Sharks on 24th.
Yes.
Yeah, looking at it. So it's a wait and see. Let's see how that goes. But also
But
Mombasa.
Sharks wasipochunga, they'll find themselves in the relegation battle. They'll find themselves in the relegation battle because they have 10 points from 10 games, and Park Road have 6 points from 10 games. So assuming that Park Road get an upturn of form and Green Sharks continue dipping in their form, then that tells you that Sharks might find themselves in a relegation battle between themselves, Park Road, and Mombasa Sports Club. And if you look at their fixtures, they are playing MSC next. That is on Sunday 18th in Nairobi. So then they are playing Sailors, and then they are playing Strathmore. So in those 3 games, they need to get a minimum of 7 points. Otherwise, they are looking at a relegation battle in their hands.
Yeah, that's right. Let's switch gears and look at the Women's Premier League side. Only one game was played, and that is between DFG Wolverines and Sliders. Sliders lost 2 goals to nil. I know you watched this game, so I will let you say something about it.
I didn't watch the whole game. I came in, I think, in the midway in the 3rd quarter. Wolverines performed very well. They showed some maturity in that game. They tried to control the game, but also at some times they sat in too deep. They were very defensive. Sliders were trying to get goals, and I think this is a match where if you see the result and you see the performance of the pitch, they are 2 different things. Most of the time, the Wolverines team was defending, and the Sliders team were attacking. But it was a matter of Wolverines taking their chances, and Sliders not taking their chances. As I said, and I think in one of our podcasts, Sliders need to have a rethink. They need to relook at their squad. They need to relook at their philosophies and ask themselves whether they want to continue playing in the Premier League or they want to slip down the Super League. Because the way they are set up, the way they are playing, the players they have, I don't think they can really survive in the Premier League for long, to be honest. They need to have a relook at their squad, at their club philosophies, as their structure, and ask themselves, are we truly Premier League material at the moment, or do we need to have a plan to stay there? Because Sliders, for me, is one of those oldest clubs in the Women's League. Sliders should be among the top 4 teams, despite their struggles. I think they should be among the top 4 teams, to be honest.
Yeah, that is right. I'm trying to get their table and just looking at the.
So Strathmore are top with 12 points. USIU are second. They've played 3 games, so they have a match at hand with 7 points. Blazers have played 4 games, have 7 points. Wolverines now are on 5 points, but they've played the most matches with Sliders, so they are on 6 games with 5 points. Lakers are on 3 games with 4 points. Sailors are on 3 points with 4 games, and Sliders are on 2 points with 6 games. Yeah, so also Sailors need to up their game. Of course, they have some matches at hand, 2 matches at hand. So if they win those 2 matches at hand, they'll be on 9 points, and they can go above, of course, Wolverines. Lakers are on 4 points with 3 games, so they have 3 matches at hand. So the Premier League ladies is still ladies league is still open. We can't really say who's going to win it or not, because Strathmore, if Strathmore akicheza walale kidogo then they lose that position. Remember, they are on 12 points. Blazers are on 7, USIU on 7, but USIU have a match at hand. In my opinion, as I said also in our previous podcast, this is Strathmore's league to lose.
Okay, let's switch gears to the Super League men, and we only had one game, and that was pitting Park Tigers and Sikh Union. Sikh Union, they drew the game 2-2. Is this the beginning of competition in this?
See, we lost that as Park Road. We lost that game. I lost 2 chances at goal, 2 open chances. My other forwards also lost 2 chances. Sorry?
Repeat that again. That you did what?
I lost 2 chances at goal, clean chances. One the goalkeeper made a very good save. Simon made a very good save, my namesake. The other chance, I think it was a matter of me passing the ball, but I made the wrong decision. Also, the other forwards, we lost chances. I think if we took our chances, we would have won that game at least 5-2 or something. The other thing is we also lost concentration and gave away 2 easy goals in that game. But if you look at the first leg and second leg, I think Simba and Park Road have found a way to cancel each other. Because also in the first leg, the game ended 1-1.
They do.
And Park Road were the first to score. So it's I think Park Road perform well whenever that is the Tigers team. I think they perform well when they meet a structured side. But whenever we meet an erratic side, a disorganized side, we tend to struggle. Hopefully, this is a good start for us, because you're also looking to get away from the relegation zone. So our next game will be against Nakuru on Sunday, which is always a tough fixture away.
Yeah. So you're going to Nakuru?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's look at the National League. Very interesting results. The Western, rather Eastern. Yes, let's start with the Western zone. We had Bungoma Farmers, which seems to have woken up. They beat Nandi Hawks 1-0. The game was.
What did I tell you? What did I tell you?
They seem to have gotten their house in order. But anyway,
I told you that it was dependent on the Sunday's game. If you look at Sunday's game, Saturday's game.
Yeah. No. You are confusing it with Falcons.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'm confusing it with Falcons. Yeah, sorry.
But nonetheless, you had predicted a win for Bungoma last week.
Yeah, Bungoma, yes. Yeah.
And talking of Kisii Falcons, they got away with 4 points. They beat Bay 2-1 and drew 1-0 with Kisii Falcons. Very, very interesting results from that end. I think the first leg, they beat them 2-0, if I'm not wrong.
Let's see the head-to-head stats. No, Bay got 5-0.
5-0 from Kisii Falcons.
So
that was the first
sweet revenge. Sweet revenge for Kisii Falcons.
Yeah.
But you know what? I kinda feel sad for those teams out there, because you look at them, they don't really participate a lot in the national tournaments. Like Nakuru, most teams did not come to Nakuru. They can't afford to come to tournaments in Nairobi. They have to participate in tournaments that are locally there, and most of the times there are not so many players there playing those tournaments. And this is where I keep calling upon the county associations as well as guys who love this sport. Let's come up with local tournaments. It doesn't really have to be clubs per se. We can involve the high schools. Like recently, we've seen high schools being participating in the hockey championship, so that this hockey can grow kwa mashinani. If you look at Kisii, I think the closest team is in where? Is in Kisumu?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we need to have those mashinani teams being supported. In fact, I would prefer if it were possible for KHU or the county associations to take tournaments there. To Amue, to let's just take one tournament there. Let's call upon the small teams that are there to come and participate and help them grow. Because I'm looking at Kisii Falcons and I'm wondering now, in the sense that will they ever reach the Premier League? In case they don't get a lot of competition locally. So if they're only playing against teams on the western side, we do understand because of financial constraints, that's how Engineer Majua and his team structured the league. But they need that competition. That's why I keep proposing whether we have like an FA Cup sort of series or Carling Cup where Kisii Falcons get to play against Butali. Kama see such tournaments, there are teams that will never play again. I remember when we had the Vaisaki tournaments. You remember the Vaisaki tournaments?
Yes.
I remember when we were starting the Kut team, the Kimathi team. We played against big clubs. I remember we played against Goan Institute, played against Kisumu Simba. I remember we beat them 1-0. We played against Green Sharks, and they beat us 4-0. So that was the only time we could get to play against big clubs. So yeah, it's not a must that ikuwe ati ni a local club in a host. You can just decide, let's take a tournament there, hata kama ni 5-a-side, so that pia hockey grow. We can have an exhibition tournament. Yeah,
that is true. Let's switch gears and look at this weekend games, and we are going to start with the Premier League men. 3 Premier League games that are going to be played. First is Park Road taking on Mombasa Sports Club at City Park, and then Green Sharks on Sunday at 11 a.m. take on the same Mombasa Sports Club. And then we have USIU at 5 o'clock taking on Wazalendo. Give me predictions to USIU Wazalendo.
USIU always give Wazalendo a tough time. And based on their form, USIU, I think, will get the result against Wazalendo. So I'll give USIU a win for that game. Park Road MSC, I'll give Park Road the win. Park Road got a good result against MSC in Mombasa. Park Road are also looking to get out of that relegation zone, get maximum points. So I think they'll win against MSC. Which is the other game?
Last one is Park Road Sharks.
Yeah, Sharks MSC. I think Sharks an easy win there for them. MSC, I was speaking to a good friend of mine. I won't mention his name on the show because wananiambia what to mention. But he was saying that they got a shock, to be honest. They got a shock. They didn't think that the quality in the Premier League was that high, considering the competition that they were in that competition in the last, I think they were there 2-3 seasons ago. So when they got promoted, he was shocked that the quality is like far much better than the way it is right now. So he was saying that they need to really train hard.
I'm looking at head-to-head stats for Wazalendo USIU, and looking at the last 5 games, USIU has won 3 times, and Wazalendo has won 2 times. Interesting, USIU has always won 2 goals, 1 goal to nil, and USIU has Twice has beaten 2 goals, and only once, that was in 2019, that the game ended 2 goals to 1 in favor of Orlando. So it will be a very interesting game to watch.
But if you look at those stats, USIU have won all matches that they have played as the home team.
Yeah.
Since Hockey K started having these statistics, USIU have always won all the games they have played as the home team. Wazalendo have not won any as the away team. So who knows? Probably this weekend will be the day. But what I can say is, and if I had a conversation with Dij, I'll tell him, control the midfield. USIU have seen that whenever they get a team that controls the midfield, they are unable to play. Controlling the midfield in the sense that you don't allow them to have those channels, to have those passing lines. You don't allow their midfielders to switch that ball. You don't give them space to look up whenever they get the ball. And their weak side is always, is it on the left? The guy who plays with the right hand, that's always their weak side. Yeah, he looks like he's strong in tackling, he's strong in passing, but whenever you're playing with that sort of hand holding that stick, there are always some drawbacks. For example, the right foot, he's very weak on the right foot. You can easily pass the ball there, and whenever he gets 2 or 3 players playing against him, he's usually very confused on who to mark. Does he mark the player with the ball? Does he mark the player without the ball? And most of the time he's left secluded in terms of defensive support. Secluded in the sense that whenever the midfielder that plays with him on that flank is always higher up the pitch, and there is always space between him and the midfielder. So if I was to mount an attack, I'd mount it on that side. I don't know whether you witnessed that in the Green Sharks game.
Yes.
He always had that weakness where when he's left alone, and Ashindwa, he is unable to decide whether he goes for the delay or he runs back towards his D and trying to form a shield. So I think that's where he in my opinion, I tell Dij to, those are the areas I tell Dij to capitalize. The other thing is their goalkeeper is always off the ball in terms of whenever the ball is on the baseline. He seems not to be in the right position. So if you can play good passes, especially on the P spot, he finds himself going too narrow for the near posts defense, and then he steps like one step in front. So he usually leaves the space. Let's say he's defending on the left near post, so he does not go close to the post. He goes like one step ahead of the post. So he leaves the space on the left foot near the post, and he tries to narrow on the right side. So he sort of leaves those areas where if you are a cheeky forward and you have that eye, you can easily score against him on the near post. The other thing is the defenders always crowd the D. They try to choke the attacker. Whenever the attacker has the ball, you find 3 defenders coming for the tackle. So it is very, very easy to get PC or the fouls in the dotted or in the 25-yard area. So what Wazalendo just need to do, if they get that foul in the 23-yard area, don't wait for them to get out of you. Just start dribbling, because they are so close to each other. They won't know that whether they are 5 yards away or not. So you will get easy short corners, and you saw that Green Sharks were also getting such fouls. The other thing is, whenever USIU are pressured, they will always hit the ball. They don't know how to get out of those tight areas. So they either push hard or hit the ball. And if you continue piling pressure onto them, then it gets that point where you'll always win the ball and they'll always be defending. and we've
Yeah.
seen that they are not good in terms of defending short corners because they always have two rushers who are coming full out. The third rusher is usually left behind. So in your short corner, if you can cut out those two fast rushers, then easy chance at goal.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Amos Hissa, who is telling us that I'm happy to be watching you. Keep your comments coming. Let us know your prediction of one game, and that is USIU
Wazalendo.
Yes, let
Also,
us know.
just to mention something about Wazalendo. Bado hawajajua kutumia Cliff. They still haven't unlocked Cliff. Cliff is a very, very good player, and he's yet to be unlocked in that team.
But
They
he
need to
looks
find a way.
Comfortable when he's playing with Barry.
Yes. Cliff is that player who has the X factor. He's a player who, ukitumia vizuri, he can really mess up the opponent. And I feel he's being stifled in terms of how he's playing, in terms of his positioning. One of the problems we face with a lot of these big teams is they usually sign a player because he has a certain attribute. And whenever that player now comes into the club, they want to pluck or they want to remove that attribute from him. So they should build. I think the players who are playing around him, they should build up players around him because he's a player who can really, really do a lot of damage for that team. You remember how Police were building a team around Awis, and they had very successful seasons because all the players knew how Awis is playing. They were in the right position whenever he had the ball. He knew where to pass the ball, and I feel that is what Wazalendo need to do. The other thing is they also need to get a very good attacker of a forward, that is. Wazalendo get very good attacking phases, but that finishing is what they usually lack. They don't have that player, that attacker who worries defenders. You see, if you look at Police, they have Cheplaiti. If you look at Butali, they have the likes of Festus, Kanu, Karis. Wazalendo need that player, a player who worries the defenders. At the moment, I feel that they are lacking that attacker, who you know that out of 5 chances, he will score 2 goals.
Looking at the Premier League women, we only have one game, and that is between Sliders taking on Amira. The game will be played on Saturday at 4 p.m. You want to say something about that game?
Amira need to win. Need to win if they want to have a good season, because most of these games are still in the first leg. They need to win that game. Sliders, on the other hand, also need the 3 points. We know that Amira are very good defensively. They won't give you a chance. Na pia ukikaa mbaya, they have a very good forward who scores a lot of goals. So for me, I'd give Amira the win. Yeah.
Okay. Looking at the Super League men, we have 2 games on Saturday and a few other games on Sunday, but let me just mention them. Of course, Nakuru will be hosting KCA University in Nakuru. That will be at 2 p.m. on Saturday. And then we have Wazalendo Masters taking on Jaguars men at the same time. That is at City Park Stadium.
Yes. Mimi I'm seeing youngsters. Youngsters, Jaguars.
There's a change. I have the latest one.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I have the latest. And then on Sunday, Super League men, we have Nakuru, of course, with Paco Tigers. Simon has mentioned that. And then we'll have, that will be at 10 a.m. in Nakuru. And then we'll have Parkland Sports Club taking on Multimedia men. And then we'll have Tuk at 3 p.m. taking on Sikh Union at City Park. Those are the Super League men matches that we have. If you look at the Super League women, we'll have one game that was supposed to be played some time back, and that is Jaguars ladies taking on MSC ladies at the City Park Stadium. And then on Sunday, we will have MMU ladies taking on MSC ladies. That will be at 9 a.m. on Sunday.
The way Messi are set up, the way Messi I saw them playing even in Mombasa and in the Nakuru tournament, Messi are going to give the Super League ladies a lot of hard time.
I like.
I'm seeing a win for MSC in both matches.
Wow. I like the simple fact that they have revitalized their team. Yes, they have the experienced players, but they also have the young ones who are really picking up the game. And just like you said, I feel they are coming to get this experience. That is.
Yeah. It's women's hockey usually faces a difficult time. You remember that podcast we had with Akina Anita?
Yes.
Women's hockey really go through a really tough time, and I think women's hockey in the country needs a lot of support, in the sense that, if you look at most ladies, whenever they get into occupation or they get into marriage, more or less it's like hockey imeisha. Inafifia. It's difficult for them to continue playing because of those wifely duties, motherly parental duties. Also, in most of them, because of their occupation, they find it hard. As a man who's working, I've always found it hard to attend training, because sometimes unatoka job umechoka. Now I imagine for a lady who's working a full-time job, at the same time she has a family and a husband to take care of, getting that time to go to training. I feel for them, and I think that's why you find that most ladies, whenever they get out of college, it's difficult for them to continue playing. If you look at most teams, most ladies playing, most of them are not yet at that stage where they have a family, and they still have some free time to play. So they need a lot of support. I don't know whether it's us as men, as husbands, to change our mentality and support our women in sport. I don't know whether it's the whole country in general, the employers and everyone changing their mindset to support women in sports, but something needs to be done.
Yeah, that's right. We have 3 National League matches, and the Eastern Zone current league leaders, that is the Jaguars, will be in Nairobi this weekend as they take on Daystar University at 2 p.m. That is on Saturday at the Strathmore University grounds, and then on Sunday we will go to Impala grounds to take on Impala at 10 a.m. on Sunday. This will be a nutcracker, especially the Impala game on Sunday.
Impala need to win, plain and simple. If you look at the table, Impala are on 9 games, have played 9 games on 17 points. Dekio have 21 points, 7 games. So they need to win this game so that they are the top 2 teams in that pool. I'm not yet sure how they will handle the promotion. Will there be a playoff for the top 4 teams, or are the top 2 teams, or are they promoting 4 teams?
Najua tumemuuliza hiyo swali akasema hiyo ni shida, atafikiria baadaye.
But no, that's not right. I think we should know early. Kwa sababu we, like in last season, they promoted 4 teams. And I think the reason why they promoted 4 teams is because we had more teams coming into the National League. Now, next season, we don't know whether we have more teams that are coming up during the National League. We don't know whether few teams will not continue. So I think it's important for us to know kama nitakuwa na playoff the top 4 teams. Ama ni the top 4 teams, that is top 2 from each pool. That
let me ask,
be promoted.
Do you have a limit to the number of teams in the Super League?
It's not set on paper. So at the moment, who knows? Probably wanaweza amua next season Premier League ikuwe na 15 teams. And then hao wengine wenye wako National League wakuje Super League. Let's assume 4 teams want to join the leagues. We can't have a lot of teams in the Super League and National League. The Premier League iko na team chache. I think they might decide, let's just promote 3 teams. 2 go down, but 3 teams go up.
That increase maybe 12.
12 teams.
Well, or right now there are 10, so maybe add
12.
another.
Another 2.
12.
They can decide to do what? Because they lazima
they probably will increase the Premier League to 12, and then in the Super League push it to 16. I don't know.
16.
Or 14, so that because 2 teams will have gone up, that leaves another a gap of 2, then have the other 2 come in.
And
they'll have to pick from the 2 different zones.
But that is dependent on whether teams itaongezeka ama zitapungua.
And then there's also the aspect of finances, which is the reason why these leagues have been split. So maybe a team will say, hey, wacha tu si tubaki huku, hatuna pesa ya Super League.
And there's a real danger there. There's a real danger there, Njugush. I was having a conversation, and you found me having that conversation on Sunday with a couple of guys at City Park. And you have a conversation with a lot of people. I had the same conversation in Nakuru during the Nakuru tournament. I had the same conversation in Mombasa in the recent Masters tournaments. And most people feel that the league, the way the season is or the way the league is, imeanza kuwa a bit stale. So people are now like questioning, is there more to just us playing the league and the season ending?
That's right.
People are looking for more. They are looking for more excitement. They are looking for
what is in it,
something fresh.
What are we looking for?
Because at the moment, what are we looking for? Because at the moment, if you ask everyone, what is the difference between National League and Premier League? I think it's just playing on the AstroTurf. If you are honest, that's the only difference. There needs to be something more. We need to encourage change. We also need to encourage sponsors to come on board, so that we incentivize this league. So things have started to become stale, because ukiongea na watu, people are like, we play the season, we don't know when the league will be broken, we just play. In a whole year, someone is playing 16 games, but you're playing in a span of, let's say, 9 months. Other than the Nakuru, Mombasa tournament, the Parklands tournament, there is nothing really to look forward to in a hockey season. And I like what Mombasa have done. I mean, they are coming up with hockey fives. They have their own Mombasa circuit. They're having the juniors. They are having the other day you had Oliver saying they are preparing an indoor pitch. They want to bring indoor. We want such things to keep fresh. And I like also what other guys are trying to do in terms of setting up their local tournaments. We need, to be honest, we need to dig in deep, and we need to start changing the hockey seasons. Ukiuliza watu, they are like, hata nikicheza league, the best I can do is to go to African Club Champs, and that's it. That's all.
Maybe we need to campaign for more teams to go for the Champions League.
Na nikwambia ukweli, if you look at even that Super League, hiyo Super League, there are only 2 teams wenye wanataka kuenda Premier League, to be honest.
Hao wengine hawana haraka.
Hao wengine hata wacha tu nikwambia ukweli, if you ask those other teams to go to the Premier League, they'll say no, we are just comfortable with the Super League. Hakuna haja ya kustrain, mimi na enjoy hockey yangu.
And there lies in the problem, because if there are 4 teams which needs to come up, then what will happen?
Yeah, I remember when we won, wakati nilikuwa Wazalendo Masters and we won the national league. I remember it was us and MMU to go to the Premier League. And I remember we had a very huge debate internally. Half of the players were saying twende Premier League. The other half were saying, my friend, mimi si uko ready kukimbizana na vijana wadogo kule Premier League. Let me just play in the National League. Wala wanataka kwenda, and then now we got to a point where we said, okay, let's then set up a third team. Because Wazalendo is a big club, they have a lot of players. So luckily or something, I think Majiwa had us wakiwa na wiki, they said, okay, tuanzishe Super League, and that's how Wazalendo Masters got the Super League. But ukiuliza timu nyingi zitakwambia mimi sitaki stress ya Premier League. Wacha tu mimi nibaki Super League na National League, mimi nicheze hockey yangu ile inanibamba. Hiyo seriousness iko Premier League, mimi si uko league.
Anyway, the last Western Zone National League match will be between Bungoma Farmers and Bay Club. Bay Club will be traveling to Bungoma for that game. I think I agree. I tend to agree with you. Probably a win for Farmers, because I know Farmers, once they catch that fire, they will run with it.
Yeah. Farmers, I was expecting them to be promoted to the Super League by now.
But you remember they went up to was it Premier, and then they dropped?
Who, Bungoma Farmers?
Yeah.
No.
The first time they came into the league, they won the National League.
Yes, they went to the Super League.
Yeah.
They went to the Super League, and then now they went to they did not get to the Premier.
Yeah, then they dropped back. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, then they dropped back. When they were in the Super League, Park Road was the one that won they won the Super League, and then they went to the Premier League. So yeah, I think Bungoma Farmers, the size of that club, they need to be in the Premier League. Honestly, to be honest, most clubs, in my opinion, need to be in the Premier League. The likes of Parklands, the like of Simba, the likes of Impala. Those 3 clubs, they have a clubhouse, they have a pitch, they have training facilities. Those are clubs that automatically, in my opinion, based on their power, based on their might, based on their history, those are the clubs that should be in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Sisi wengine wenye tuna struggle huku chini, awacheni tu tuendelee kunyang'ana tuna Super League. But let me ask you a question before you mention about the high schools, and then we end the show. What is your opinion on Daikyo? Do you think that they can go all the way up to the Premier League?
They look like they have the muscles to do that. Yeah. Financially, team-wise, they look like they are stable. They have gelled. Maybe that is the only team that can come up and go straight to the Premier League.
I beg to differ.
Mm-hmm.
Like your style.
Is here, so Wamalo can tell us.
In my opinion, the way Daikyo are playing, and I've watched one or two of their games, it's suited for the National League because most of the teams in National League don't really have a structure. Now the rubber, he will start hitting the road when they now start facing those structured teams, in the sense that the balls are not starting with a hit. The 16 balls are not starting with a hit. The 16 balls are starting with a scoop. They are facing teams that know how to switch the ball. They are facing teams that will know how to be patient and look for that short corner. So they won't get that comfort of always hitting the ball, always dribbling, always carrying the ball. They'll face teams that will be on their neck, teams that will not give them space, and teams that when they get the ball, it will be difficult for them to get the ball back. So in my view, yes, Daikyo right now are one of the richest clubs in the country, but also they need to invest in their coaching. They need to invest in their team management in terms of coaching. So when they start coming up, they need to start looking at, the teams now will start facing, they are not teams kuchapa twende, or you can dribble past 4 players and go score. Yes. Or they are not teams that you'll score against in terms of you'll dribble 3-4 players and then score. No, you'll find fitter teams, you'll find harder teams and more organized teams. So in my opinion, I think as they get promoted, they need to start investing also on the coaching side.
Yeah, that's
Wamalo anasema hapa Njuguna, don't put me on the firing squad.
Mzee, tupatie maoni yako. I'm looking for the Rift Valley hockey games that were played over the weekend. Was it Rift Valley or Nini? Because I saw they beat Friends School Kamsinga. That is St. Anthony. Was it St. Anthony or is it Kitale? One of those two teams. Anyway, I'll get the results and then I'll post them in this section. Thank you so much for joining us. Today, that is all we had for you. Remember, you can follow us on that is on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Thank you so much for your comments, Anthony Namos. We really, really appreciate the conversation going. And see you next week, same time, same place. Saimo, any last word?
All I just tell people is let's support the game, let's support each other. If you know a project near you, or you can support a player, let's support them. We're always looking for guys who can support our podcasts through advertising, through donations, just to keep us going. So yeah, we are looking forward to partnering with guys. We have also partnership opportunities coming up with the live streams. So if you want to advertise with us on the live streams, feel free to contact us, and we can set up the advertising channels for you. So hapo tunaona St. Anthony won 1-0 against Kamusinga. That is very good. Right. Good job by our good friends over there at St. Anthony. Wanafanya kazi nzuri.
Kasera says kudos for the show. Kasera, are you from Kampala? We need to talk about the UGA, the Uganda Hockey League, which is really doing well, Simon, by the way. I think next week we need to someone from Kampala to just let us know what is going on that side. And then we have Anto, who says, good work, guys. Looking forward to working with you. Thank you so much for that. And then Amo says, thanks. Niko Kabare Girls High School Kirinyaga, development ya hockey in the process. Welcome all. Asante sana. Huko nadhani tutatuma Saimo akuje, alikuwa university karibu hapo, wanaweza kuja huko angalie hiyo development inaendelea.
Kwani unadhani Nyeri na Kirinyaga ni karibu wewe?
Ni karibu. Hautapita side ya Moranga, upite pande ya highway. Haiko sawa.
But Njugush, we've been saying we'll visit guys out there. I think it's time we started being true to our word. We need to start visiting the likes of Amos. I've promised Amos for long that I'll be going to see him, but we need to start visiting those teams. We need to start having those road trips and speak to those guys. They're as I finish, Paul, and I extend.
Yeah.
There are a lot of guys who, and this is an appreciation for those guys. There are a lot of guys who really work hard to support the game, and they go under the radar. They don't announce on social media what they are doing. They don't brag about what they are doing. But there are guys out there who truly give their all. They give their money, they give their blood, they give their time, their sweat towards the game. And I want to appreciate you. We know, both Njugusha and I, we know it's not easy. Like for us, it's not easy to do what we do. We don't expect returns the same way you don't expect returns, but we appreciate you for all the work you're doing to make this sport grow. The other day I was speaking to my team and I was telling them that when we were young, we used to harvest wheat, ngano, kutoka kwa shamba ya Moi. And we used to wait for the combine harvester to do its rounds first, and then we go later to collect the zimebaki. And I remember that we were not allowed to go into Moi's farm until that combine harvester did a run. And always that combine harvester, kuna mahali haiko inafika, you see in the corners, kuna mahali haitafikisha hiyo the cutters, the collector. So yeah, so and I was telling my team that there are people who are combine harvesters. They'll always create those parts for you. Yes, they'll harvest the majority, they'll harvest the big ones, but they'll always leave a space where it is not touched. There's always a gap that they will not be able to touch, and that's where most of you guys who are supporting the game, where you are coming in. There are guys who are doing major things in the sport. They have big academies, they have big shows like us, there are guys who own clubs, but there's a space that they can't cover, and that's where you're coming in to collect that leftover wheat. And Jugush, by the way, we used to collect that wheat, na sometimes ilikuwa inafika gunia hadi 10. You will get like 10 sacks of wheat from the leftover wheat, and we used to sell it for and support ourselves for education. So it's the same way. Don't give up. Don't think that everyone is doing the major things and try to look at them and say, I can't do that. No, do the small things. Support the local team, coach the local high school. If you have something you can give back to the game, do it. Even if you're no longer actively playing, there's something you can do to support the game. For example, the club you used to play for, you can buy them t-shirts for training or the game. The high school you used to play for, you can go back and buy them hockey balls. You can start your own academy in your local school. Let's do something that supports the game, and don't feel discouraged because you're not getting recognition. Just continue doing it. And the last thing I told my team is, just like the combine harvester did, it left a mark for the small guys. So whatever you're doing right now to support the game, you might not see the results, but the generations that are coming will see those results, and they will say, truly, the guys laid the path for us, and we can be able to enjoy those small gains. Yeah.
That's true. So see you next week, same time, the same place. Bye-bye, and God bless you.